Browns. All right, Monday Night Football. The Minnesota Vikings at 14-3 are a point favorite over the Los Angeles Rams at 10-7. Total 47.5. This one's interesting because the key starters for the Rams rested last week, so they're basically coming off a bye, while Minnesota geared up for that game against Detroit for the number 1 seed and got their brakes blown off. Tough one, man. Where'd you land?
I went with the Vikings, man. I'm done doubting them. I mean, you went out and won 14 games this year, and 2 of your 3 losses were to the Detroit Lions, a very good football team. So it's like, and the other one was to the Rams, but that could have gone differently. I mean, it ended up being a 10-point loss, but it came down to the wire, and there was that weird, like, missed face mask in the end zone where Sam Darnold literally got his head ripped back. Then somehow they just didn't call it for the
That's
safety, and then
right.
the game was over. So, that gets called. Vikings may have won that game, and then they're 15-2. So, ultimately, I'm just going to go with them. I think, stylistically, I like the matchup. I think, if the defense can get some pressure on Stafford, don't give him time to sit back and just hit Kupp and Nakua, bottle up Kyron, it can be huge. And I think Sam Darnold will have a bounce back game. I mean, think about it. He is not playing for millions. He is playing for hundreds of millions here. I mean, this is, depending on how this playoff run goes, we're talking like, the difference of $100 million.
That's a great point that I want to get back to after I give my thoughts in this game. But I ultimately took the Vikings as well. I know they lost to the Rams. As I just mentioned, Rams kind of a little bit more rested right now. But let's be honest, the Minnesota Vikings are a better team from top to bottom. I love the way Darnold's played all year. I trust their weapons on offense. I trust their offensive line to contain this young Rams pass rush. I think the Vikings have a big bounce back. I know their offense struggled last week. The red zone offense struggled. I don't foresee that happening. I think the Vikings can hang 28 to 35 points in this game for sure. And Brian Flores loves to blitz. The Rams offensive line, yes, much improved this season, but still Stafford can't move like he once could. And I see him getting sacked quite often in this game, puts it behind the sticks, and then you're not going to be able to have those throws downfield to Puka Nakua, which is what they need to win this game. Give me the Vikings here. They're just the better team. And to your point with Sam Darnold, dude, he's playing for a lot. He's got so much on the line here, and it's very interesting because I think what happens this weekend and potentially the next few weekends to come completely determines what the Vikings are going to do in the offseason at quarterback. If Sam Darnold leads them to the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl, you can't just let the guy leave the building, right?
Well, yeah, that, but also like you're talking, is he going to get like 30 million a year? Or is he going to get like fifth, like highest paid quarterback in football cut time kind of money? You know what I mean? Because if he
Yeah.
gets into the, even the NFC Championship game and it's like they lose, but it's not because of him and he just balls out the whole playoff run, like, you know, you would imagine like at his age, like he's going to want to reset the market. And it's hard to argue that with the season he had and, if they went that far in the playoffs, that you wouldn't let him set the new record for the highest paid quarterback in football, knowing that like, down the line, whoever's up next will just break it anyway. But you would imagine like you could become close to a 60 million a year guy.
Yeah. I mean, if they do make that deep of a run, let's be honest. Daniel Jones got 4 for 160 after one playoff win. Darnold is going to be getting at least 50 million a year, I
At
think.
least, yeah. So you
You
would think
know,
they might offer him 5 for 60,
I
if
think
all goes well.
no matter what, Minnesota is going to tag him, so they at least have him, and they could. I think they're going to have the flexibility to tag him. But hey, if Darnold throws up a dud this weekend and they get knocked out in the first round despite winning 14 games in the regular season, maybe
Somebody's still
Minnesota's
paying
like
him.
somebody, but maybe it's not Minnesota, and they're like, you know what, Sam was great for us this year. We're not going to commit that amount of money to him because we do have JJ McCarthy waiting in the wings, and maybe they let Sam walk in that situation.
Well, I would still
But
think they would tag and trade him if anything. Like I don't
yeah,
think there's a world where he walks
that's what I'm
per
thinking. Like you
se.
could tag
Yeah.
him and trade him. Someone's going to give him that extension. But then it's
Yeah.
like if they do make a deep run, Mel Kiper was saying today that, hey, JJ McCarthy could be available if they're going to re-sign Sam Darnold to a long-term deal. This isn't a situation where it's like Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix because Kirk Cousins was 35. Sam Darnold's only 28 years old,
Not
so
even 27.
he's 27, even
Yeah.
better, right? So he's not like that old guy where then it's like, hey, JJ McCarthy becomes available. And I mean, there's no doubt with the teams that need a quarterback, the Giants, the Raiders in the top 10,
Jets.
one of those teams would be willing to give up that pick in the top 10 plus some other draft capital farther down the board to get JJ McCarthy. So you could be the Minnesota Vikings. There's a scenario where you make it to the Super Bowl. You could even potentially win it, right? You sign Darnold to a long-term deal and you trade McCarthy for a top 3, top 6, top 7 pick, and you add a premier player to this roster. That's a very interesting scenario.
For sure, bro. For sure.